May you have auspiciousness and causes of success. May you have the confidence to always do your best. May you take no effort in your being generous, sharing what you can, nothing more, nothing less. May you know the meaning of the word happiness. May you always lead from the beating in your chest. May you be treated like an esteemed guest. May you get to rest, may you catch your breath. May the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Whoa. May the road less paved be the road that you follow. Oh. Well, here's to the hearts that you're gonna break. Here's to the lives that you're gonna change. Here's to the infinite possible ways to love you. I want you to have it. Here's to the good times we're gonna have. You don't need money, you got a free pass. Here's to the fact that I'll be sad without you. I want you to have it all.
Hi, I'm Gavin. I'll be a junior at Vernon Hills, and I just got back from the Global Leadership Summit. And I used to think that solving real-world problems was a long process, but now I know that if you collaborate with others and share your unique perspectives, you can come to a solution much quicker.
Developing an essential question before coming here, I kept thinking about the courses that I'm teaching and this idea of problem-based learning, and I haven't integrated problem-based learning in the classical sense really in my courses. I have like snippets of it, but this idea that I wanted to develop a driving question that takes the whole year, that drives through the whole year. And I think I teach a European history, and that's all I teach now, and so it's kind of this Western thing. So I was thinking about what is it about the Western world that could really link to this experience in Berlin, but also could be a driving question. And in history, a lot of times people have tried to start with the modern and you reverse your way back, right? So you can trace these modern issues, and kids can really see. I think they're more excited about history then because they can see the connection to the present. And I think it's really good for the idea of building empathy. So I was thinking, what's the crisis of the Western world right now? And I think it's the development of extreme nationalism, I think is one of them. So, and here we sit in Berlin as perhaps one of the greatest examples in the West of nationalism run amok. It's in history, right? Like the Nazis and all the atrocities that committed there. So what I wanted to do instead, mine's less pedagogical for me, but more as an idea to drive for my entire students, is to have them start off researching this issue in the Western world, and then I've already put together projects that then trace us through. And I want to see if I can get them to figure out which one is really, through history, going to make a more just and equal and stable world. So that's kind of where I'm going right now. So my question is, I've been working on this project that was to drive my whole year. So I'd appreciate any feedback and help in that, because this is my first kind of endeavor into like a problem-based learning type project that is completely year-long. So
I took each of the 6 letters and incorporated something small. And I thought that would just weave it through the year instead of just doing one thing once in the year. If I could, exactly what you're saying, is if you could put a little bit in all the time, it just makes it more routine.
I used to think that it was going to be difficult to add our new Daring mission into my chemistry curriculum. After witnessing the transformation at the Tempelhof Airport, engaging with students at Siemens Vocational School, and witnessing the energy and determination of students at the Global Youth Summit, I now know that I'm fully invested and excited to add the new Daring mission into my class. My motivation to make this happen comes from the words of wisdom from Randy Zuckerberg, Glenn Keane, and Jason Latmer. When facing the complicated and the impossible, together we can break down walls to open up paths of wonder and imagination.
Hi, my name is Sammy Burkett, and I'm a junior at LHS, and I just got back from a Global Leadership Summit. I used to think that some things were impossible, but now I know that impossible is a word that we made up, and I need to keep wondering and being curious and asking questions.
Passionate about computer science, but I'm even more passionate that I believe my students have don't think they believe it themselves, so I want them to believe they can change the world. I also want them to be able to prepare for an awesome career, and I want them to believe in themselves. And in particular, there's a lot of populations that are underrepresented in the tech industry, and so I really want to have everyone feel empowered that they belong and that they can do it.
So I decided to put the thing there so that even if I'm not saying it, it's just like, hey, here's a question. Sign out you're doing, you're dreaming, you're whatever. So I thought like a question I could ask regularly is how could you use this to help? Like what could you do with this?
Tufts and admissions, and what we did was when we brought a kid to committee, the things that got kids in was not the grades, because everybody has amazing grades if you're applying to Tufts or outstanding test scores, but it was those little pieces that they could talk about in their essay. These are the things I did, this is how I grew from it, and that is what we talked about in committee. We didn't even talk about grades, we talked about their experiences. Right, and the kids who could write about it, who were able to kind of articulate what they learned and how it changed them, how it impacted them. Those are the kids who got in.
So how do we provide opportunities for our students to have those experiences that they can write about and provide evidence for?
It's a very project-oriented or project-based learning, because in the first semester we had a small project within our class where we formed teams and created a device to measure the net frequency. Where we were capable of put all our knowledge we gained in the first semester in, and as a team accomplished the task to have something which can measure the net frequency. And further on, it's like a tradition in the TA, so to speak, that you have in the second semester a project which runs over the whole semester. And the lecturers are kind of like supporting you during the whole semester to gain knowledge about what you want to achieve within your project. And this year is a very special project, or this semester, because we are glad to work together with two different countries. So there are Siemens apprentices from Australia and Siemens apprentices from India, which were mixed together with us, the German students, into groups to work on a special project. And the topic for that year was to include this the Siemens MindSphere.
So imagine you're at lunch and the bell just rang. You have to get to class, but you want to sort. You don't have time to sort your trash, but you want to make sure you're recycling and sorting your trash correctly. So with this, you just have to put all your trash into the trash can, and it's going to automatically sort through your trash. And based off of like texture and weight, it's gonna be able to shoot the trash into the correct spot, the recycling in the correct spot, and the compost in the correct spot.
I used to think as a teacher I needed to have all the answers. Now I know it's far more important for me to instill a sense of wonder in my students.
I fundamentally believe that we don't actually teach what we teach. That we, there's no real reason for us to be teaching history in the sense of the facts and the dates and everything. That there's a fundamental thing that we should be teaching and trying to get us kind of what are we doing at that level? Whether that's teaching problem solving or creativity or collaboration. These more kind of foundational human skills. And so. In my case, I was focusing just on one of those skills, which I feel is empathy. And how do you teach empathy through the medium of whatever it is that you're teaching, whatever that content area is. And then on top of that, and teaching empathy, again, so through the medium, meaning I'm not like taking a separate day out or whatever to go and have a discussion about empathy, but just what it is that we do, because we know that being in an orchestra, being in a musical group, that can build empathy. So what is it about orchestra that does that? And then of course, how do I assess if I'm being, being effective at that? Or what exactly am I? If I make a lesson plan, so I want to kind of focus on this idea, how do I know that I'm being successful?
Experiences open your mind. We used to think, but now we know. I used to think that people were known as as refugees. Now I call them newcomers. In July of 2018, I traveled with a group of educators to Berlin, Germany. One of the days we visited the site of the Tempelhof Airport, which was formerly used to construct the Nazi Air Force. Today it stands as a welcoming center for new arrivals coming from all over the world looking for a new start.
Share your open mind experiences with the hashtag OMX.
I used to think the books I love would take me anywhere, and that the primary sources and research and documents and graphics I read and analyze convey multiple perspectives. While that is true, now I know that learning in different locations near and far is far richer and deeper, allowing me to understand the unique people, culture, and context of each location. Place-based learning builds empathy and bridges and breaks down the walls that separate us far beyond the ability of words on a page to do so.
Learn this to like projects, especially also doing these tutor talks where the teacher really sits down to you and listens. What do you want to do? What problems do you have? And yeah, just do that step by step. I really learned how that it's okay to say what I feel. I didn't learn that before.
And originally we had like sort of specific essential questions for different projects that we wanted to do, but through this experience, we've sort of broadened our question to sort of be a driving question for the entire course, which is more about how do we deliberately create safe spaces that empower students to share experiences, highlight their passions, and learn from each other. And then we have a few of our more specific project ideas below that, which have to do with a lot of the themes we've already heard about empathy, listening, understanding, tragedy and how to overcome trauma and instances of oppression and injustice in our history.
Hi, I'm Anna Hurd. I'm a junior at LHS, and I just got home from the Berlin Global Leadership Summit. I used to think that technology was reaching its peak, but now I know that it's limitless and we just have to keep exploring.
After attending the conference in Berlin, we had the opportunity to work with teachers in Europe and visit schools and check out the European system, particularly the German model, both the private and public school model, as well as the involvement of corporations in education. And upon reflecting on that, one of the things that I really used to believe that I took away from this was I used to believe that PBL was just a supplement, a way to add to increasing and deepening learning among students. But after spending time in the schools in Berlin and working with those teachers, one of the things I realized is that PBL can be integrated fully into a curriculum. And what it really does is it really helps marry content with skills, rather than keeping those things separate or letting one take over the other. The German model has done a really good job of emphasizing both content knowledge and skills knowledge together.
I used to think my job as a high school teacher was to help students turn into mature, responsible adults. But now I know that in order for our students to become responsible adults, I need to help them maintain their curiosity, their imagination, and their ability to make believe. That is going to make our world a better place.
We're all teachers. We're teachers because we care about students and we want our students to grow. And so I thought, how can I change grading practices to really promote student growth rather than students' goal being the accumulation of points, right? They get the good grade because they accumulate the most points. So how can we change our grading practices to really promote that student growth? Maybe involve some idea of growth mindset in there. And then also the second bullet point I have on my poster there to the left, so how can grading practices be improved to promote student growth, but also to best prepare students for their own unique future? Because yes, maybe certain grading practices are good for the students that are going into a university, but from seeing the school, I was very surprised to hear that about half of their students go to a university and the other half don't. They may take a gap year, they may go into vocational studies. So how can we use grading practices to just best prepare all of our students for whatever pathway they will take? So I would love to get your input on ways that you have changed your grading practices, you've seen teachers change their grading practices, or just maybe one of your ideas that you have even thought of to change your grading practices. So this is what I'm most looking forward to, is getting your thoughts and ideas to share with me and each other.
I used to think that one of the most important parts of my job was to tell the stories of our district to our community. But now I know that it's equally important to share stories and experiences from beyond our community, our state, even our country, with our students and staff to help them realize new possibilities, reimagine the high school experience, and to become D128 Daring.
And my question is really looking at how do we use storytelling to give our kids a chance to walk a mile in someone else's shoes? Because we've really looked at diversity and helping kids understand other people's perspectives and to have empathy. So my question is, how do we use storytelling, not necessarily in a classroom, but through our clubs, our organizations in schools, to give kids that opportunity?
The trip to Berlin made clear in my mind the importance of a physical presence in developing empathy within our students, and how this ultimately leads to the education of better human beings. Of course, there was the powerful experience of being in the shadow of the Berlin Wall and seeing how it cut through neighbors and families. But perhaps even more powerful were the stories we heard of the people who lived through that experience. I now know that this physical presence of the actual space or of the human face is what will connect our students to what we really want them to learn.
My name is Tanner Blacker. I'm a senior at Libertyville High School. I just got back from the Global Leadership Summit in Germany. I used to think that it'd be difficult to create like friendships and talk with people from different countries and all over the world. But now I know that people across the world share many of the same interests, and it's easy to talk and create friendships that will last a lifetime.